Coordinates: 13 degrees 8 Un 85 degrees 7, W, 13.133 degrees North 85.117 degrees West, 13.133. Minus 85.117 Nicaragua. Officially the Republic of Nicaragua is the largest country in the Central American Isthmus, bordered by Honduras to the northwest, the Caribbean to the east, Costa Rica to the south, and the Pacific Ocean to the southwest. Managua is the country's capital and largest city and is also the third largest city in Central America, behind Tegucigalpa and Guatemala City. The multi-ethnic population of 6 million includes people of indigenous, European, African, and Asian heritage. The main language is Spanish. Indigenous tribes on the Mosquito Coast speak their own languages and English. Originally inhabited by various indigenous cultures since ancient times, the region was conquered by the Spanish Empire in the 16th century. Nicaragua gained independence from Spain in 1821. The Mosquito Coast followed a different historical path, being colonized by the English in the 17th century and later coming under British rule. It became an autonomous territory of Nicaragua in 1860 and its northernmost part was transferred to Honduras in 1960. Since its independence, Nicaragua has undergone periods of political unrest, dictatorship, occupation and fiscal crisis, including the Nicaraguan Revolution of the 1960s and 1970s and the Contra War of the 1980s. The mixture of cultural traditions has generated substantial diversity in folklore, cuisine, music, and literature, particularly the latter, given the literary contributions of Nicaraguan poets and writers such as Rubén Darío. Known as the land of lakes and volcanoes, Nicaragua is also home to the second largest rainforest of the Americas. The biological diversity, warm tropical climate and active volcanoes make Nicaragua an increasingly popular tourist destination. There are two prevailing theories on how the name, Nicaragua, came to be. The first is that the name was coined by Spanish colonists based on the name Nicaragua, who was the chieftain or cacique of a powerful indigenous tribe encountered by the Spanish conquistador Gil González de Villa during his entry into southwestern Nicaragua in 1522. This theory holds that the name Nicaragua was formed from Nicaragua and agua, to reference the fact that there are two large lakes and several other bodies of water within the country. However, as of 2002, it was determined that the cacique's real name was Maquilmaquistli, which meant 5 deaths in the Nahuatl language, rather than Nicaragua. The second theory is that the country's name comes from any of the following Nahuatl words: Nic Anahuac, which meant, Anahuac reached this far, or, the Navas came this far, or, those who come from Anahuac came this far. Nican Naha, which meant, here are the Navas, or Nic Atl Nahuac, which meant, here by the water, or, surrounded by water. Paleo-Americans first inhabited what is now known as Nicaragua as far back as 12,000 BCE. In later pre-Columbian times, Nicaragua's indigenous people were part of the intermediate area, 33 between the Mesoamerican and Andean cultural regions, and within the influence of the Isthmo-Colombian area. Nicaragua's central region and its Caribbean coast were inhabited by Macro-Chibchan language ethnic groups. 20 they had coalesced in Central America and migrated also to present-day northern Colombia and nearby areas. They lived a life based primarily on hunting and gathering, as well as fishing, and performing slash and burn agriculture. 33:65 at the end of the 15th century. Western Nicaragua was inhabited by several different indigenous peoples related by culture to the Mesoamerican civilizations of the Toltec and Maya, and by language to the Mesoamerican linguistic area. The Chorotegas were Mangu language ethnic groups who had arrived in Nicaragua from what is now the Mexican state of Chiapas sometime around 800 CE. 26-33 The Pipil Nicaragua people were a branch of Navas who spoke the Naha dialect. And like the Chorotegas, they too had come from Chiapas to Nicaragua in approximately 1200 CE. Prior to that, the Pipil Nicaraguas had been associated with the Toltec civilization. 26-33 Both the Chorotegas and the Pipil Nicaraguas were originally from Mexico's Cholula Valley, and had gradually migrated southward. 26-33 Additionally, there were trade-related colonies in Nicaragua that had been set up by the Aztecs starting in the 14th century, 26 to 33 in 1502. On his fourth voyage, Christopher Columbus became the first European known to have reached what is now Nicaragua as he sailed southeast toward the Isthmus of Panama. 193 to 92 Columbus explored the Mosquito Coast on the Atlantic side of Nicaragua but did not encounter any indigenous people. 20 years later, the Spaniards returned to Nicaragua, this time to its southwestern part. The first attempt to conquer Nicaragua was by the conquistador Gil González de Villa, who had arrived in Panama in January 1520. In 1522, González de Villa ventured into the area that later became known as The